and not the people at the highest level. District attorney has a tremendous ability to prosecute and not prosecute in terms of seeking justice with these individuals in terms of turning them into state witnesses where they're giving up other people, who are really the ones who are helping to bring this despair upon our communities.
Well, we're blessed in one sense because we got Route 91 and the Turnpike. That kind of is the crossroads in New England because it brings commerce and it encourages business. But what it also encourages and does is that Route 91 is a gun and drug highway. It goes right from New York City. You can even go down to Miami if you want, but really New York City, right up to Montreal. And as you know, Vermont has very less stringent gun laws than what we have. So as you know, people go up there, they buy guns, they come down here, those guns get traded for drugs, so you get the guns on the street and trading for the drugs as well too. And when you look at, as we were talking before about corrections, when you look at the breakdown of the family, where a lot of these kids, not only in cities but in the suburbs as well too, aren't coming from the greatest places. So a gang becomes attractive to them. That becomes their family. You get protection, you get money, but you got to deal the drugs and get the guns. So it's again, what's the two-pronged approach to combat both of those things? The guns on the street for the drugs, and then the societal problem that we have with the breakdown of the American family and kids getting involved younger and younger.
Yeah. In terms of the hard approach, I think any time that someone uses a gun in a crime, they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law because of just the inherent dangerousness factor, not just to law enforcement, but to the public. In terms of even someone possessing a gun without complying with the licensing requirements, once again, prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Carrying a gun, bringing a gun into a situation, to me, I think you cross the line, and you should be punished accordingly for elevating the situation where someone can die. Relative to, in terms of controlling the use of guns, I have advocated early as one of my initiatives was the everyday gun buyback.
Right.
And what that program was, a lot of times people have guns in their house that they either inherited or they purchased it thinking it was a good idea, and now they don't know what to do with it. I would offer to them the option of being able to go to a police department any day, actually having two departments, one on the east side of the Connecticut River, one on the west side of the Connecticut River, where someone can bring these guns there and even receive a small stipend to get the guns off the street. Because as a police officer, Chip, you know that when a house is broken into, they're looking for money, they're looking for jewels, they're looking for maybe pills, and they're looking for guns. So being able to take those guns off the shelf, so to speak, to be used by gang people would be very, very advantageous. And once again, when people are caught with guns, it would be, if these are straw purchases, illegal purchases, as a district attorney, you could work with these individuals to possibly get them to turn state's evidence in terms of finding out who is actually bringing the guns here. There are people making a tremendous amount of money by bringing guns into our community and selling them illegally. Those people need to go to jail, and they need to go to jail right away. So in terms of that hard approach, I feel very comfortable in making sure that that would be part of my mandate in order to make the community safer. In terms of a soft approach, I issued an initiative relative to anti-gang, where it comprises a lot of subparts. But the primary subpart would be to, educate, go back into the schools and speak to the kids about the dangers associated with gang activities, because it's a dead-end street. And they need to be reminded that, being involved with a gang is only going to result in them being dead or possibly them serving a long period of time in jail. The second thing that I would do is probably bring in a national expert to actually maybe reach out to the gang members and to say to them, you're involved in the gang now. What can we do to get you out of that gang? Is employment the issue? Is it a sense of you need to reconnect with society? There's a segment out there that is in, I would call it, hopelessness phase. And maybe if we had an anti-gang expert who could actually reach out to these gang members and possibly turn them around. These would be very, very important things to do in terms of a soft approach. Because that segment's out there, and they're not going to go away. And either two things are going to happen. They're either going to be in jail, where we're spending $50,000 a year to put them in jail, or it's going to be a situation where they can continue causing criminal behavior, where it's just disturbing that the number of people who are willing to use a gun to kill people. And that's, I don't think that's where Hampden County wants to be typecast with. We can do a better job. I feel the glass is half full, not half empty. This is a wonderful area. Springfield has a lot to offer. Ludlow's a beautiful facility. The smaller towns that encompass the cities, we have a lot to offer. But in order to develop those traits, we have to control our crime problem. We have to be proactive and not reactive.
Well, I think you hit the nail right in the head, because Springfield's the center of our universe here in Hampden County, the whole Pioneer Valley. And I know you're running in the county, so you get 23 cities and towns, so that includes Westfield and Chicopee and Springfield. But Springfield is the core, and if Springfield succeeds, we all succeed.
So true.
Yeah, and I think as a district attorney, and I think all district attorneys recognize that, but you're exactly right in that we could talk about economic development all week day long, but until the crime and the perception of crime, and I really truly think that the perception is even worse than the reality. Real crime is there, it's happening, but it's keeping people from Ludlow and East Meadow and Longmeadow and every place else. They used to go downtown and enjoy the Fort or Lido's or these other restaurants that are closing, and you heard Rudy say it last week when he was closing the Fort. It's just not what it used to be. So we are, we get some significant challenges ahead of us, and the district attorney, along with the sheriff and the legislature, needs to step up, because it needs to turn around. And if it doesn't happen soon enough, we're going to be looking at a Detroit situation, and none of us want that. None
of us want that. And in fact, you can just look at a couple examples. Tower Square, which I still refer to as Bay State West, because that's what it was when it opened when I was younger. But Tower Square now is going to have a satellite component of the UMass campus, which is wonderful. That's going to bring students to the downtown area. The students are going to be instructors, faculty, personnel who are going to come downtown and work. And with them will come restaurants, and because people have to eat. And then stores will follow, because people want to buy something, whether it's school supplies or maybe clothing. But what controls that more than anything else is crime. If people feel that it's not safe to attend that facility, they won't attend it. And that's why the role of the district attorney is so important. I have the famous thing that I say that separates me from my opponents. I like to use this story. If you want to make a citizen happy who's been a victim of a crime, is to catch the person the offender. That'll make that citizen happy. But if you really want to make the citizen happy, prevent the crime in the first place. Because in that sense, it becomes a good community to live in. And that citizen's life isn't interrupted by the crime. 7 years ago, and I live in I refer to as a nice community, my house was broken into. And the police did a wonderful job trying to, track down the persons who broke into the house. In fact, the very next day, they were at a department store using my credit cards. And they were able to get their pictures, and they were able to show their pictures on TV, but nobody identified them. But I lost my insurance. My wife's wedding ring was taken. To this day, we were on vacation. We don't feel particularly safe, knowing when we leave our home. It's a terrible feeling. And if we can avoid that feeling by making sure that, I'm sure it wasn't the people who broke into my house, that wasn't their first break. Right. And if that could have been avoided in the first place, that would have been wonderful. Not because it was my house. It could have been it could have been your house. It could have been someone watching on the TV's house. The important thing is to figure out ways to stop, and I'm sure they didn't stop breaking into houses after mine. So it's important for the district attorney, who is responsible for the reduction of the crime, to be proactive in finding ways to ensure that either the break doesn't occur, and if it does occur, those people are prosecuted, the offenders are prosecuted, and receive justice in terms of what they did.
That's a good segue, because I wanted to talk about the actual campaign itself now. And as I mentioned, you've got 23 cities and towns. There's 4 total. And if anybody's just tuning in, I just want to remind you this, we're talking to Mr. Etkin, Attorney Etkin. He's running for district attorney. So you got yourself, you've got Sean Allen, you've got Brett Votero and Anthony Coluni, who are all running for the district attorney seat. So that's a big area. Hampden County, you know, we may not realize it, but if you're running for this thing, you realize, wow, this is geographically, it's a big area. And you go from Holland to Tolland, right, exactly. I keep on hearing that from all the candidates. And, and everything is equally important. Everybody's got their own specific issues, but we talked about the cities kind of being the core of our of the county. But how do you approach a campaign? You've been at it since January or maybe even earlier. Yeah.
And it's important to recognize that a vote in Southwick is equal to a vote in Springfield.
Yeah.
You know, not one community, either in terms of how you vote or in terms of how you should feel how people vote tops the other. You know, running for office has been a wonderful experience for me because I've been able to talk to people and find out what their concerns are. You know, the fact that I was a prosecutor, I ran the police academy, I've been a private attorney for the last 10 years. You know, a lot of these initiatives come from police officers, chiefs of police, state police officers, defense attorneys, people who are victims of crime, sometimes clients that I had, in giving me ideas. And I think it's important to go through this kind of fire to decide, you know, do you really want this? Because if you're doing it for the money, or if you're doing it for the vendetta because you had trouble working in the office before, I don't think those are good purposes. Or if you're doing it because, you know, the district attorney is the most powerful politician. You know, district attorney can indict anybody. You know, people say, you know, the sheriff hands out a lot of jobs, which is true. The congressman may bring a lot of federal funds into the community, but the district attorney can indict you. The district attorney can charge you with a crime. And you want someone with integrity who is not going to abuse that office. And I've been a lawyer for close to 30 years, and I never had a client file a BBO complaint against me, which is the governing body for lawyers. I never had a client sue me for doing a poor job. You know, your integrity has to be perfect in terms of running for district attorney. And I think you have to be a good person. You know, can I tell you what my last initiative was for July?
Please do.
You haven't been reading. You haven't been watching my my website.
I've been busy myself.
So. You're the one I'm going to excuse. But for everyone else, I'm going to want them to go to www.etkinforda.com. Well, July 1st, you know, the legislature issued a 15% increase in the DA's salary. It went from, I think, 149 to 171. So my initiative this past week was to take that $22,000 and I'm going to donate back to the community. I would like to give it to some family who has a young person who wants to go to college and, you know, help them out in terms of, you know, attending college. You know, I received scholarships when I was looking at college and law school, and I ran for the job. I knew what the salary was. Yeah. And the fact that they decided to give an increase, you know, as much as I appreciate that, and I'm not telling other people to decline the pay raise. For me personally, though, I think as an example of leadership, it would be nice to find a better way to use that money. And by creating a fund to help deserving youth in Hampden County, I think that would be the best use of that money.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll go to your website and read that. I have not read that yet.
Well, there you go.
So how about logistically getting around the county? How do you feel at this point? Because like I said, we're kind of, for you and I, we're in the home stretch here, but most people are just maybe starting to tune in, and they probably won't until after Labor Day anyways. But
yeah, these are the last 2 months of July and August are the hardest months because people do go away. And it really started, you know, July 1st, where, you know, you may call people and find out that they're away on vacation. And even though for you, the campaign is, my family, we're not going on vacation. This is the most important thing in my life, aside from my family. And as such, it's hard in the sense of these 2 months in terms of, saying, I can't believe people are going away when there's a district attorney's race. Plus, a lot of people haven't taken a real close look at the district attorney's race. The actual primary is September 9th, and, most people are going to get back, probably at the end of August. So you really have like 9 days to like a week in which you're going to have to really motivate people relative to getting excited about the DA's race. Now, I've been lucky in terms of, from day one in the campaign. We have raised over $90,000. We had a fundraiser in Ludlow at the Elks, which is a beautiful facility. Once again, I keep going back to the Elks, and we had 275 people there on a night where it rained cats and dogs, so to speak. We had to put 1,000 signatures to get on the ballot. We collected 2,400, and of the 2,400, 1,647 was good. So we were 647 beyond the minimum. We've been doing standouts. It's been a wonderful experience running for office. But it's, to me, what really matters, and what I have said, and once again, when I told people I was going to not take the raise and donate it to a scholarship, they said, why would you do that? I said, well, that's what I'm about. I'm a different type of candidate. And, I told people from day one, and you probably heard it at some of the caucuses we both attended, if I can't make a difference in reducing crime and helping victims, I'm not going to run again, because the job's that important. If I can't objectively quantify that there's been a reduction in crime, I won't seek a second term, because to me, it's that important of a job that we have to take seriously.
And these are 6-year terms, correct?
4-year terms.
Oh, 4-year terms, I'm sorry. I was thinking.
Which I would suggest to you that, at least for me, on a personal level, I'm probably looking at 2 terms. So I would be district attorney for 8 years. Now, if there was a groundswell of public opinion saying, Mr. Etkin, you're doing such a wonderful job, like the sheriff does a wonderful job out in Ludlow, we want you to stay, I would do another term. But we're going to work so hard. These initiatives, which are now 24 initiatives, are going to require that much energy, not just for me, but from my staff, that I think that, after about 10 years, it's been my experience that some people start running on fumes. And I think at that point in time, maybe to step back and give someone else an option either to continue with these programs, have new and better programs, or maybe take the district attorney's office in a different direction. I'm not your normal, ordinary candidate who wants to in fact, none of my opponents have said put any limitations on how long they would be there or refusing any type of raise,
Yeah.
And I'm just a, ordinary guy, but, I approach this from a different perspective in terms of what I think needs to be done.
That's interesting, very interesting.